But hell is a reality in the Muslim tradition. And Rumi, the great poet, the spiritual poet and scholar Rumi, he talks about heaven and hell. And one of the things he says about heaven and hell is that they are both products of our own making. You make your heaven through your deeds. There's a saying from Prophet Muhammad, God bless him and grant him peace, that on his miraculous night journey and ascension, he met with Prophet Abraham and in the seventh heaven. And Prophet Abraham says, one of the things he says to him is give my greetings of peace to your followers, to your community, and let them know that heaven is it's virgin, it's cultivated. And the way that they cultivate their places in heaven is through remembrance of God. And so every time you remember God by saying a phrase of praise, Subhanallah, absolute perfection belongs to God. Alhamdulillah, thanks and praise belong to God. There are trees and there are flowers and there are all kinds of vegetation that spring up and grow in your place in heaven. Now, Prophet Muhammad, God bless him and grant him peace, said that we all have, each human being has a place in heaven. And each human being has a place in hell. And Rumi says, your and my wrong actions are what make hell hell. And so really we're building our paradise, or we're building our hell. And when a person passes away, then they go to paradise through God's grace. And if a person goes to hell, then it's through God's justice. No one will be wronged. And now, last cohort, we talked a little bit about the differences of opinion about the eternality of hell. There's no consensus about the eternality of hell. Is hell forever? That's the opinion of the majority of Muslim scholars. There are some scholars like Rumi who say that no, it's not. That everyone eventually will end up in heaven. And there are other scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah who says that hell is not eternal, that at some point it will go into non-existence. There are others like Ibn Arabi, Sheikh al-Akbar, the greatest sheikh, who says hell will become a place of bliss and enjoyment for the people of hell. So hell will always be there, but it won't be a place of punishment eternally. And so what's really interesting when you look at the Muslim tradition and you study the Quran is that exegetes of the Quran say about God's promises of heaven and reward and his threats of hell, right? Because they answer these two natures in the human being, the nature of hope and desire, and then the nature of fear. Right? There are some people that are motivated by desire, right? They wake up, they get out of bed because they want something. There are other people who are motivated by fear. They wake up and get out of bed because they don't want the lights to go off. So they go to work, right? They don't want to get in trouble, right? And so, he talks about these two states as being reflective of who we are, deep inside. So the more heavenly you become, the more you are going to experience heaven when you go over to the next side. All right. And the more there's And the fire, the hellfire is described in the Quran as being something that devours and consumes. And our society of hyperconsumption, where the ego and the self, the lower self, is always ingratiated and fed and excited. It's the perfect hell is the perfect symbol of the self. Yeah. Now, what the Muslim tradition also says is that anyone with a an atom's weight of faith in God will ultimately exit the hellfire. And so there will be people, according to these narrations, whose time in hell will be temporary. And we ask God to protect us and our loved ones and all human beings from any moment or any instant in hell, right? If you knew what hell really was, you'd never want your worst enemy to go there.